Um, but this is a story called Two Stars, and it is based on a nightmare that I had, actually. Um, because I don't know if I've ever mentioned it, but I suffer from chronic nightmares. And this one just seemed like I don't know, it was very, very creative, and I thought it would be a good setting to create a story with. So, I guess I posted a link in chat if you want to follow along on your own, but I will show the reading as I go. Um, but I guess without further ado, let's transition. There we go. Part 1, Starstruck. I'm so excited. Okay. Hopefully I'm not yawning too much. Oh, there you go, I'm yawning. Prologue. 15 years old. That's when your ranking was assigned, and every 5 years after that, you would be re-evaluated for a new chance in life. But no one ever changed ranks, or at least, it was a very rare occurrence. 2 stars. That was the ranking that Quinn Green had been assigned. 2 stars, neutral, right in the middle, supposedly an easy and good place to be. It wasn't. Although it wasn't the lowest rank, the system had developed flaws over the years. Lines between different ranks became blurred, and the first and second class became practically one and the same. In terms of the law, nothing had changed. Twos still received a better education than ones, they got better jobs, and they lived quote-unquote average lives. But in terms of social standing, twos were treated just as poorly as ones. 3 stars. That's where everyone wanted to be. The top of the food chain, the cream of the crop, it was all anyone wanted. The threes received every privilege imaginable. They were favored by the law and reaped the benefits of it. They could literally get away with murder, and Quinn knew that all too well. In terms of personality and outlook on life, twos were the most diverse. Quinn had them all pinned down. She had separated them into groups, and everyone was part of a group. First were the tryhards, those who believed that they could work their way to the top. Quinn would always see them saving up their money to buy expensive clothes and go to parties hosted by threes. They tried to make as many friends as they could among the threes, trying to win their favor in order to be voted up when they turned 20. That was how the system worked. First, your rank was decided by your peers. Those around you would vote on where they thought your place was in society. Look, I'm yawning. Obviously, the ones who were most popular became threes, and those who were disliked or generally unknown became ones. Then, every 5 years after that, the threes were the ones who decided your fate, which is why no one ever moved. The high and mighty despised change. They were exclusive, and they'd be damned if they let a lowly two into their circle. Yet the tryhards persisted, and for the most part, the threes let them. It wasn't because they enjoyed the company, far from it in fact. The threes loved the tryhards because they were naive. They would perform errands for the higher-ups without any qualms, thinking that each errand brought them closer and closer to the top. However, as Quinn observed, the tryhards rarely lasted long in their try-hard attitudes. Sooner or later, they would realize they were being used, and they would become a part of another group. Most ended up with the bitters, those who had a pure jealousy-induced hatred of the threes. They claimed to hate the threes, saying that they would never want to become one of those ignorant pricks. But of course, everyone wanted to be a three. The next group was the one that Quinn herself was a part of, the neutrals, those who understood that life wouldn't change and accepted things as they were. The way Quinn saw it, life wasn't perfect, but she wasn't a one, and that was good enough for her. She'd managed to survive for 2 years in her ranking, and things weren't as bad as they could be. She still benefited from the government in some ways, and though her social life wasn't great, she knew that things could always be worse. She wasn't quite happy, but she wasn't depressed either. She was a neutral. Finally, there were the hopeless, those who had given up on life, who spent their days crying and drinking and sleeping. Quinn hardly ever saw them, because they never left their houses. But she had met a few, in the liquor section of the grocery store, crying in the school bathroom, and occasionally being wheeled out of their houses and into an ambulance. She shuddered as the thought crossed her mind. 2 stars, supposed to be the easy middle, but seen as a life not worth living. This was the system that was supposed to save the world. Chapter 1. Introductions. Quinn! She snapped to attention. Her teacher fixed her with a disappointed stare. Quinn, I know it's the last day before spring break, but please at least try to pay attention. Now, can you tell me why the three-star system was put in place? Quinn knew the answer. Of course she knew the answer. It had been drilled into her head since birth. To give each individual the life that they deserve based on the life they've lived. She recited the words that had been repeated in every textbook she had ever had, but with very little enthusiasm. Exactly. The teacher seemed satisfied with the answer and continued on with the lesson, talking endlessly about the peace and justice that had been realized because of the system. It wasn't long before Quinn was zoning out again, and before she knew it, class was over. Finally, Quinn mumbled to herself as she gathered up her things. Not that she had any plans, but she knew that anything would be a better use of her time than hearing your teacher drone on and on about how great their terrible lives are. Hey, Space Cadet! A familiar voice came up behind her, and she turned around to see her best friend, Vix, smiling at her. I've been trying to get your attention for the entire class period, but you were zoning out again. What were you thinking about this time? Vix was a tryhard. She had been since the day she was born. Her parents had 3 stars, so all her life she had aspired to follow in their footsteps. When she was rated 2 stars, she was devastated. She referred to it as her fall from grace. But Vix was nothing like the other tryhards, and that's why Quinn liked her. She was unique. She never took shit from anyone, not even 3s. She socialized with them, but she had a firm grasp on her dignity, and if anyone dared to threaten it, she was gone before they even got the chance. Quinn smiled back at her and started to walk as she responded. Sorry, it was just the usual. Talking about the system always gets me in a weird mood. Vix nodded. Clearly, she said. Then, as they walked out of the classroom, Vix started up a new conversation. I heard Miriam is trying out for student council again. I thought student council elections took place at the end of the year. Vix laughed. Usually, but there's an open spot now. Apparently, the student body president just mysteriously quit. Quinn raised an eyebrow and said, The student body president? I find it hard to believe that someone in that high of a position would just up and quit without warning. No shit, Sherlock. I'm pretty sure Miriam convinced them to step down. Not sure how, though. Ugh, I can't stand her. Quinn hadn't had many conversations with Miriam, but that was mostly because conversations weren't really Miriam's style. At least not with 1s and 2s. She preferred to trip Quinn in the hallways, or knock her books out of her hands, or leave cruel notes on her desk in her locker, or do pretty much anything except actually talk to Quinn. Vix nodded and said, Duly noted. But whatever, Quinn continued. It's not like I have any say in the matter. I can vote against her, but they literally only count the votes from the 3s. Wait, really? Vix asked incredulously. Yeah, they just give us the option to vote to give us the illusion that we're actually doing something. It's like handing a dead controller to a kid, or pressing the button on the crosswalk. Quinn looked over at Vix to see her looking perplexed and said, Vix, don't tell me you thought those things actually worked. Vix pouted indignantly and defended herself. It makes a sound when you press the button. Quinn held back her laughter. Then why does it take so long for the signal to change? And why does the little voice tell you to wait so many times? Really? They don't do anything? Nope, nothing. Vix put a hand on her forehead. That's fucking crazy. Uh-huh, Quinn said amusedly. So, you think she'll win? With this new info, there's no doubt. She's the most popular 3, and even if she somehow doesn't get the position, she'll just pull the same shit all over again, rinse and repeat until she gets what she wants. After a pause, she added, Honestly, you kind of have to admire her persistence. The other girl scoffed and muttered, You don't have to. Vix laughed. All right, fair enough. Quinn seemed to take... Oh, fuck. Typo. No. There we go. Vix seemed to take Quinn's silence as a hint and decided to change the subject. My parents just went grocery shopping and everything is fully stocked. What do you say we go to my place and empty the cabinets? Quinn laughed. Vix had a way of lifting her spirits so easily. Your poor parents, she said jokingly. Imagine how much money they have to spend just trying to keep the house stocked while you, she nudged Vix with her elbow, continue to eat everything in sight. Vix laughed and shrugged, saying, You and I both know that's not a problem. Plus, they always get the best stuff. I may not have 3 stars, but you know I'm going to eat the hell out of that 3-star food. Ridiculous. But you love me. Unfortunately, that's true. Chapter 2. A Friendly Game of Prophecy. Can you see it? All I see are stars. Come on, try a little harder, Vix. See where I'm pointing? Yeah. That's Venus. And see that over there? That's Ursa Major. It just looks like a cluster of stars to me. Quinn smiled and shook her head at her friend. The two girls were laying in the grass in her backyard, happily watching the night sky. Understanding each other better than anyone else could, they discussed the vast world above them. One day we're going to go there. What? You and I. We're going to see the stars someday. But we can see them just fine from here. Vix had sat up and was looking Quinn directly in the eyes. Something about that look made Quinn's heart jump. Haven't you ever wanted more? Unable to hold Vix's stare, Quinn looked down and quietly responded. No, I can't say that I have. Vix sighed and laid back down in the grass, seemingly resigned. One day, Quincy, you and I are going to be the best this world has ever seen. Quinn smiled and looked back up at the stars. Okay, Vix. Quinn woke up and looked around, taking a moment to recognize her surroundings. She was laying on the couch in Vix's TV room, their usual hangout, and the coffee table was covered in wrappers and dishes from their snack spree. Vix was sitting on the floor a few feet away, looking at her phone and only half paying attention to the reality show on the TV. But she turned her head when she heard Vix stirring. Hey, you awake? Yeah, how long was I out? Vix looked back down at her phone and said, Only about an hour. I let you sleep because I figured you needed it. Plus, you seemed like you were having a good dream. I wasn't about to disturb that. She looked back up and winked at her friend. Quinn blushed and tossed a pillow at Vix, who caught it and laughed. Shut up, you're such a perv. Then, after thought, she smirked and said, Believe me, if I was having a sexy dream, you would know. It was Vix's turn to blush now, but she played it off and simply asked, All right, then. What were you dreaming about? Oh, I read that wrong. It's fine. Quinn thought, trying to recall her dream, and then said, It was more like a memory than a dream, really. I was just remembering the first time we watched the stars together. Aw, Quincy, you were dreaming about me? Vix teased. You wish. The ginger crossed her arms and pretended to pout, saying, Fine, but if you aren't madly in love with me, then who are you in love with? Who do you dream about at night? Quinn blushed, but she saw the familiar glint in those emerald eyes and knew that Vix wanted to gossip. Gossip. She sighed. No one. Then she turned the conversation over to her friend, as she tended to do in these situations, knowing that Vix probably had more to talk about than her. What about you? Vix pondered for a moment, though Quinn had a feeling Vix already knew what she was going to say, before saying, I don't know, but I heard that Charlie was planning to ask me out. Fuck, I'm finding so many typos. Quinn raised an eyebrow. Where'd you hear that? Sammy. Huh, I didn't know they were friends with Charlie. Then, as an afterthought, she asked, Are you going to say yes? I don't know. What do you think? Quinn frowned. I don't think you should. They've hardly ever talked to you. She grabbed a bag of popcorn from the table and opened it before adding, Plus, I've heard they have a bad history with relationships. I suppose that's true, the other girl responded. Yeah, you're right. I hardly know him. And he's what do you call it? A bidder? Oh, did I just mess up the pronouns? Fuck. It's fine. Quinn nodded, talking with her mouth full. Yeah, with how much you want to get to 3 stars, I doubt you two will see eye to eye. I should have done some role playing there and gotten some candy. Just munched on it. 97 views, holy shit. Sorry, I'm looking at my statistics. That's definitely true, Vix laughed. There was a look on her face that Quinn couldn't quite read before she said, Quincy, let's play prophecy. The loser has to do something for the winner. Quinn eyed her suspiciously, but for all she could tell, Vix didn't have anything questionable planned, so she agreed. Prophecy was a game that the two girls had made up when they were 15. The two of them would watch some cheesy romance movie, and they would try to guess how it ended. They earned points by predicting events leading up to the ending. Of course, guessing how the movie would end was worth the most points. The movie they selected was about a girl who followed her boyfriend on a business trip to another country in order to surprise him and propose to him. But she gets lost along the way and has to rely on the help of a stranger from that country. This is an actual movie that my sister and I watched together. It's called Leap Year. I think it's on Netflix if you want to watch it, but I kind of spoiled the ending. Hold on. Also, this game is based on a game that my family and I play around Christmas time, where we watch Hallmark movies and try to predict the endings because they're very predictable. As soon as the stranger came up on screen, Quinn said, Easy. She's going to fall in love with him and end up proposing to him instead. When they reached the end of the movie, Quinn turned out to be exactly right, and she turned to her best friend with a smug grin on her face and said, "So, what should I have you do for me?" But Vix held up a finger and countered, "Not so fast, Quincy. You didn't win." She paused, most likely for dramatic effect, and seeing the perplexed face of her friend, she continued, "You predicted the ending, but I predicted a ton of the events that led up to it. I added up the points, and I won." She held up the notebook she'd used to count the points for emphasis. "What? Let me see that." Quinn snatched the notebook and scanned it. Seeing that she had indeed lost, she looked up at the smug redhead and admitted defeat. "Fine. What do you want from me?" Give me a minute to think about it." Quinn tossed another pillow at her, and this one hit her right in the face. "Shut the fuck up. We both know you've already decided." Oh, I skipped. It's fine. All right, look. Her tone was nonchalant, but Quinn could tell she was trying to hide something. Trying to hide something. "I have a project of sorts. I need you to come with me to pick up supplies and, help me do the project." "What kind of project is this?" She eyed Vic suspiciously. "It's an immersive experience, a field trip of sorts, and I want you to come with me." Taking her cue from Quinn's questioning expression, she continued, "I'm going to experience a certain social culture in order to study it and learn more about it. I think you could benefit from this too. Plus, it won't be as fun without you." "Get to the point, Vix. I know it's not a fucking project. I'm not stupid." "Fine," she sighed. "Miriam is throwing a party at her cousin's summer home. Her parties are usually exclusive to only threes, but once a year she holds a huge party and invites everyone. I'm usually only able to go because she likes me, but now you can go too. Miriam throws the sickest parties, and I've always wanted to take you to one. This is our chance, Quincy." Quinn could see the genuine excitement in Vix's eyes, but she couldn't help. Sorry, this is bothering me. I need to indent. Um, but she couldn't help but feel an instant wave of anxiety. "Vix," she said, "you know I can't do that. I'll go shopping with you, but please don't make me go to one of those parties." She paused before adding, "Especially not one thrown by Miriam." Vix pouted, but she thought it over before saying, "Fine, come shopping with me. While we go shopping, I have the whole day to try and convince you to come with me. Deal?" Quinn frowned, but she was stubborn. She was sure not even Vix could change her mind. "Deal. So when is this party?" Chapter 3. Confidence. This one's really short. "Vix, I'm already tired," Quinn sighed. "Bitch, we just walked through the door." "I know." The two girls stood in the entrance of Vix's favorite shopping mall. Quinn looked around, seeing the multitude of stores and kiosks sprawled out in front of her. She sighed again. She was about to tell Vix that she had changed her mind, that she didn't want to do this, that she felt sick. Oh, sorry, I saw the underlined parts and thought there was a typo, and there is. Fucking, how did all those typos happen? Anyway, I type fast, it's probably why. She sighed again. She was about to tell Vix that she'd changed her mind, that she couldn't do this, that she felt sick, or any other excuse to get her as far away from the crowd as possible. But before she had even opened her mouth, she felt a hand gripping her own, and she found herself being pulled over by her best friend. Great, she thought. Now there's no way in hell I'm going to stop her. She tried anyway. "Vix," she called to the turned back in front of her. "I don't feel comfortable spending your parents' money like this." But Vix Ellensee wasn't fazed. Without even turning around, she said, "That's okay, because I'm fine with it," and they continued to walk. Before long, Quinn found herself in a clothing store that was filled to the brim with things she could never possibly afford. She cast a glance towards her friend, but Vix wasn't concerned at all. She smiled and clapped her hands together, saying, "All right, let's get started." I love Vix. I'm gay for Vix. Quinn sighed, but seeing as she had no choice but to follow, she quickly fell into step beside her friend. "Yes, I'm gay for my OC, I'm sorry." Since the point of this trip was to decide whether or not she should go to the party, she decided to get a head start on the debate. "So," she began, "tell me, how is going to a crowded party with a bunch of people who don't like me supposed to be fun? Wouldn't it be more fun if we just, I don't know, had a sleepover?" Vix rolled her eyes and responded, "We do that all the time, Quinn. This is something new. Plus, I already told you, it's not just some party. It's the biggest and best goddamn party of the year." Her excitement was palpable, but Quinn only cringed. Sorry, I'm taking my headphones off because I'm not playing any music and they hurt my ears. So, her excitement was palpable, but Quinn only cringed. "That's the exact reason I don't want to go, Vix." She let out an exasperated sigh. We've been over this. I'm an introvert. Large crowds stress me out, and my social battery lasts about as long as the battery. Oh, wait. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought I changed that line, but I didn't. My social battery lasts about as long as the battery on the school laptops. Despite her disagreement, Quinn heard the girl beside her snicker at the statement. She continued, I don't mind you going to so many parties, honestly. I'm glad that you have so many friends, and that you're able to enjoy being in the company of so many people. But I just can't do that. You know this. Vix chewed her lip and hummed thoughtfully as she perused a rack of floral dresses. You know, she started, it's not really as fun spending time with you. Oh, it's. I was like, wait, why would I write that? It's not really as fun as spending time with you. Don't get me wrong, I love these parties so much, but I also love hanging out with you. I was hoping that maybe just this once I could have them both at the same time. Quinn frowned slightly. She still wasn't used to receiving compliments, and she didn't think she would ever get used to it as long as she lived. Choosing not to acknowledge Vix's flattery, Quinn proposed a question. Why don't you just throw your own party? Ah, Vix blushed. It seemed Quinn had brought up a valid point. I'm no good at planning. Brunette frowned at her, so she tried a different explanation. I'm not that close with the threes, believe it or not. Being invited to their parties is one thing. They invite tons of twos. They find it entertaining. If I throw a party, there's no guarantee anyone will come. They'd all be afraid that one of the others would judge them for coming to a two's party. No one would be willing to risk. Wow, no one would be willing to risk their reputation for a party. She seemed ashamed. Vix, why are you embarrassed about that? Vix looked up at her, surprised, and responded, I'm trying to work my way up in the system. If they aren't willing to come to a party that I throw, that means that they still see me as lesser than. Lesser than. Sorry, my voice just trailed off there. It just illustrates so clearly how far I still have to go. This is ridiculous. Vix was one of the most admirable people Quinn knew, and the idea that a bunch of snobs could so easily make her feel worthless, it made her blood boil. Shut up. It slipped out of her mouth before she could even think about it, and she was about to apologize, but when she looked up, Vix was laughing. What? Why are you laughing? The redhead flashed her a smile and simply said, Because you're absolutely right. I am? I mean, I know I'm right, but I didn't even state an opinion. I just told you to shut up. But I know what you meant, babe. She waved her hand dismissively. I've been acting like a goddamn puppet. I've got a long way to go, but it doesn't matter. She nudged Quinn with her shoulder. It's a good thing I have you around to keep me in check. And suddenly, Quinn wasn't angry anymore. She gave her friend, who had presently gone back to looking at clothes, a soft smile. She had been about to lecture Vix, but it seemed that she already knew her faults, and she was open and ready to improve. She truly was one of a kind, and Quinn was proud. Chapter 4. The Decision. Well, if it isn't Quinn and Vix, my favorite partners in crime. What brings you here? The two girls turned around to see a lanky boy with wavy brown hair, green eyes, and a beaming smile. Basically a twink. Um, Marcus, it's good to see you. Quinn walked up and gave him a hug before saying, And I could ask you the same thing. I didn't know you liked shopping. He laughed and pointed to a name tag on his chest with the name Marcus Tallis on it, with two little black stars underneath it. I work here. Oh, I forgot I did that. I'm so smart. I thought it would be a nice detail to have, workers with their name tags have, their rank on their name tag. And I forgot I did that, and I feel very smart. Oh, I need a drink. Been a while since I read through this chapter. Well, I did read through it. I guess I just skipped that line. Marcus was one of the kindest people Quinn had ever met. The three-star system was ruthless, so he'd ended up with 2 stars, even though he deserved 3. It didn't bother him at all, though, because Marcus was in a league of his own. He wasn't just accepting his lot in life, he was living it to the fullest. He seemed to always be happy, and he was so willing to help anyone at the drop of a hat. Quinn had a sneaking suspicion that the only reason he wasn't voted to 3 stars was because he was gay, and she was probably right. Yeah, homophobia is canon in this world, I'm sorry. You still haven't answered my question, Quinn, he teased. Quinn was about to respond when Vix spoke up. We're finding outfits for Miriam's party. Quinn gave her friend a slight glare. She still hadn't agreed to go to the party, and Vix knew that. Besides, Marcus was sure to want to help her find an outfit and convince her to go to the party. If he did, it would be 2 against 1. As expected, before Quinn even knew what was happening, Vix and Marcus were leading her to a changing room with a pile of clothes in her arms. Once the door to the changing room was shut, Quinn sighed. She took a moment and then turned around to look at herself in the mirror, and she noticed the necklace she had forgotten she was wearing. It was a plain silver necklace with a small chain. At the bottom, close to her heart, sat 2 small silver stars. All citizens under the system were required to wear some sort of signifier of their ranking. It didn't matter what it was, as long as the world knew where you stood. Quinn had received this necklace as a gift the day her ranking was assigned, and she hardly ever took it off. Not because she liked it, but because wearing it had become second nature. She was required to wear it, as it was the only signifier of her status that she had, besides the government regulated pin she had received when her ranking was assigned, but she preferred not to wear that. Quinn sat down on the changing room bench, and decided to let her mind wander. She didn't particularly feel like trying on these outfits, and she figured that Vix and Marcus would be too busy talking to notice how long she was taking. Vix. Looking back at her necklace, Quinn recalled countless memories of her and Vix discussing their ranking. As children, they would play dress up together, and Vix would sneak into her parents' room and grab some of their 3-star signifiers. She would stand in front of the mirror with Quinn and try them on, dreaming about the day when she would have signifiers of her own. Quinn knew that Vix still did that sometimes, but only in the safety of her own home. After all, it was a serious crime to wear a signifier that didn't match your rank. Unlike Quinn, Vix despised wearing her signifiers, and she tried to make it tolerable by having lots of different variations that could match lots of different outfits. Even so, she always removed her signifier as soon as she got home. Quinn's thoughts were interrupted by a loud knocking on the changing room door. "Quincy, are you okay in there?" It was Vix. "Everything's fine. The zipper on one of the dresses just got stuck and I had to fix it," Quinn lied. "Oh, all right. Well, let me know if you need any help." Quinn heard the sound of Vix's retreating footsteps and let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "Oh, fuck, this is embarrassing." Reluctantly, she got to her feet, figuring it was probably about time she started to actually try on the outfits Vix and Marcus had so carefully picked out for her. Outfit after outfit, Quinn would come out of the changing room, and both Vix and Marcus would fawn over her, telling her how beautiful she looked. But none of it felt right, and she said as much, even though she felt bad doing it. They took it in stride, however, and every time she rejected an outfit, they would immediately tell her that was all right, and that one wasn't my favorite anyway. Quinn wondered where they got all their energy from, and sighed as she returned to the changing room one last time to try on their final suggestion. Well, she thought, at least if I don't like any of the outfits they pick, it'll be harder to convince me to go to the party. And with that thought in mind, she tried on the last outfit. Quinn immediately noticed that it was much different from the other glittery and otherwise striking outfits that Vix and Marcus had picked out. This one consisted of a simple white tuxedo shirt with black buttons, a tuxedo vest, a black bow tie, and a soft skirt that reached down to her knees. Quinn found herself admiring her reflection, and she hated to admit that perhaps Vix and Marcus had picked something that she truly liked. Looking at herself in the mirror, Quinn turned this way and that, seeing the fabric of the skirt swish around her legs. Out of curiosity, she spun around in a circle and was pleased to find that the skirt twirled around with her. "Damn you, Vix," she thought to herself. Quinn was sure that Vix had chosen this because she knew that Quinn had a childlike fondness for skirts that had a nice twirl factor. Besides that, Quinn found she quite liked wearing a tuxedo shirt and vest rather than a dress. When Quinn stepped out of the dressing room, Vix's eyes immediately lit up with a knowing glint. She absolutely knew that Quinn would love this one, but she asked anyway. "So, what do you think?" Quinn crossed her arms and refused to look at those captivating emerald eyes. Something about the way those eyes looked at her made it impossible for her to lie, which right now would be very inconvenient. Even so, she found that she couldn't deny her fondness of the outfit. She started, "not awful." And Vix was instantly beaming, practically bouncing in place. Meanwhile, Marcus stood back and observed with a bemused, satisfied smile on his face. Vix practically skipped over to her friend with an excited smile and said, "Isn't it? Oh, I knew you would love this one." She circled around the embarrassed brunette, taking a look at the outfit she had so expertly chosen. Meanwhile, Quinn kept her arms crossed and her head down, trying to hide the redness in her face. "Oh, Quincy, you look absolutely stunning," she continued. "This is a perfect fit, and And it's so your style, isn't it? Quinn huffed out a sigh of exasperation. Yeah, she said. So I like the outfit. Whatever. That doesn't mean I'm comfortable with you spending your parents' money on it, or that I'm going to the party, for that matter. Vix stopped in her tracks and put on her most dramatic pout. But Quinn, she whined, when else are you going to get the chance to wear this amazing outfit? When you look your best, you feel your best. Imagine how amazing it'll feel to have everyone see you looking so cute. If Miriam sees you wearing that, there's no way she'll be able to make fun of you. She'll be absolutely speechless. Oh, she'll definitely still find a way to make fun of me. I can guarantee that. Vix shook her head. Okay, but Miriam is a bitch. Who cares what she thinks? Quinn was about to retort that it was Miriam's party and that literally everyone cares what she thinks, but Vix cut her off, saying, besides, even if Miriam makes fun of you, she has absolutely no taste. The other threes aren't as bad as her. Trust me, I'm friends with them, and they'll be relatively respectful. Especially if they know that you're my best friend. Quinn was at war with herself. She knew deep down that this was a terrible idea, and that she would most likely regret it for the rest of her life. But the logical side of her brain was currently being drowned out by her empathetic nature, which was begging her to make Vix happy. When Vix is happy, you feel happy too, it said. Finally, she sighed in defeat and looked at Vix with a less than pleased expression. Said Ginger was currently biting her lip in anticipation, her eyes never straying from Quinn's face. She sighed yet again. If I go to this party, she started, and Vix's eyes were immediately alight with expectation and excitement. If I go to this party and I don't like it, you have to promise me that you'll never make me go to another one again. Never, ever again. You got that? Vix nodded vigorously and immediately replied, Absolutely, I promise. If you don't like this party, you won't hear a peep from me about any more parties for the rest of your life. So, please? With one last sigh, Quinn finally gave in. Okay. Marcus cleared his throat, and both girls jumped, having forgotten that he was there. If you ladies are done, he said with an amused tone, I'll gladly ring you up and get on with my shift, which, I might add, I have been neglecting for about an hour and a half now. Vix's eyes widened, and she immediately began to apologize. Oh my God, Marcus, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot you were working. We'll just have Quinn change back, and then we can check out and get out of your hair. After Quinn changed and hung up her new clothes, she stepped out of the changing room to find Vix still apologizing for Marcus for pulling him away from his job. Marcus laughed and put up a hand to stop her. Don't worry about it, love. He noticed that Quinn was ready and beckoned for the two of them to follow him to the register. I was happy to get away from work for a while, and besides, I was technically helping a customer, right? Vix laughed with him. You were. Two, in fact. See? Even better. After they had successfully checked out, Marcus waved them off and gave Quinn a wink, saying, Have fun, and see you at the party, Quinn. Chapter 5. The Preparations. Quinn was overwhelmed. On the coffee table before her sat countless beauty products. Hairspray, curling irons, hair dryers, makeup. It seemed to Quinn that Vix had brought every beauty product don't clip that. Every beauty product she owned and set it down on the small table in her TV room. The brunette looked up at her friend from her spot on the carpeted floor with a look of apprehension, and she didn't even need to voice her thoughts for Vix to know what she was thinking. Okay, I know it looks like a lot, but it's not like we'll be using everything here. I just want to have it all out in front of me so I can decide what would look best. Vix, her tone was just as apprehensive as her expression. You know I don't like wearing makeup. I know. Vix moved to sit on the couch behind Quinn and beckoned for her to turn around and look up at her so that she could get to work. But, she continued as she held her friend's chin up and examined her face, it's just for one night. I promise I'll make you look even more gorgeous than you already are. Quinn rolled her eyes, but she stayed still and complied while Vix prepared to apply her makeup. Fine, but don't do a lot, okay? You know I hate the way it feels. Vix hummed in acknowledgement. I know, love, I do too. That's why I only wear eye makeup on the daily. Besides, she smiled, well, anything else would cover up my adorable freckles. Vix rolled her eyes, but was immediately chastised by Vix telling her to hold still. She obliged and limited herself to only speaking when Vix was reaching for another product to use. Besides that, she said, it takes forever for your face to recover after clogging your pores with so much shit. Vix laughed as she uncapped a bottle of foundation. But you gotta admit that it looks good while it lasts. Only if you do it right, and even then, I don't think the breakouts that come after are anywhere near worth it. You're preaching to the choir, Quincy. I only learned how to do makeup for 3 things. Theater, cosplay, and 3-star parties. I still can't believe I agreed to do this. Vix laughed and said, "Me neither. Now shut up so I can make you prettier." They spent the next half hour in comfortable silence as Vix did Quinn's makeup. Although Quinn was anxious for the party, spending time with Vix like this gave her confidence. Vix knew that she didn't really want to do this, so she was making sure to be extra kind to her, and Quinn appreciated it. As the ginger worked skillfully, her emerald eyes constantly scrutinizing her subject, Quinn allowed her mind to wander again. I should put again there. Wander again. There we go. Because she's always letting her mind wander. She's a daydreamer. Quinn had known Vix since third grade. Ah, when they met. There we go. Sorry, I don't know how that happened. When they met at a social event with another school. The two of them were bored and tired of hearing all the adults talking, so they went off to the playground and spent hours talking to each other. The next week, Quinn was surprised to find that very same redhead in her class. Apparently, Vix didn't have many friends at her other school, and she had begged her parents to let her transfer to Quinn's. Quinn was extremely surprised by this, as she hadn't had many friends before either. She didn't know how to talk to people, and no one wanted to approach her because of it. No one had ever been so interested in her and what she had to say, and their connection was immediate. In all the years that they had known each other, Quinn couldn't recall a single time that they had fought. They had such a deep understanding of each other, even though their personalities differed in so many ways. Bringing her mind back to the present, Quinn realized that the reason she had agreed to go was because it was Vix who had asked. She would never do this for anyone else. Although she complained and made it clear that she didn't want to go, she knew that she would get over it, because Vix was her best friend, and some stupid party wasn't going to change that. Quinn trusted Vix, and she knew that nothing bad would happen. She was sure she wouldn't have fun, but it would be worth it in the end to see Vix happy. Hey, Space Case! Ah, the voice of reason, once again bringing Quinn back into reality. Your makeup's done. You want to play a quick game of prophecy while I do your hair? Same stakes as last time? Sure, why not? You're on. Once again, the scores were close, but Quinn won this time, and she made sure to rub it in Vix's face. A little payback never hurt, right? But as always, there was no malice in her teasing, and Vix simply laughed it off as always. All right, you dork, what do you want? Vix asked. Quinn thought for a second before saying, Okay, when you get to 3 stars. Vix's eyes widened, and Quinn thought that she could see her blushing, clearly flustered that she had referred to her change in ranks as if it were guaranteed to happen. You have to promise to still have sleepovers with me. She looked taken aback. That's it? Quincy, I would never give up our sleepovers for the world. She swatted the brunette's arm playfully. Just ask for ice cream or something. Jeez. Quinn laughed. She knew she was being ridiculous, but after reminiscing, she couldn't help but wonder if moving to 3 stars would change their relationship. I just had to make sure you wouldn't forget about me. Yeah, why don't you go make sure that you're dressed for the party, huh? Quinn smiled and rolled her eyes, but she complied and went to change. When she returned, Vix greeted her with a big smile and told her that she looked positively dapper. She then put her hands on Quinn's shoulders and looked her over one more time to make sure everything looked perfect. Oh, she exclaimed suddenly as she pulled something from her pocket. I almost forgot. I bought this for you with my own money, just to say thank you for coming to the party with me. Before Quinn could see what it was, Vix had placed it in her hair. She then said, All right, all done. Now go take a look at yourself. You look absolutely gorgeous. Curious, Quinn went to take a look at herself in the mirror. She nearly gasped as she saw how wonderfully Vix had put everything together. She could hardly recognize herself. She looked beautiful, and she watched as the girl in the mirror slowly started to gain more confidence. Looking up at her hair, she noticed the present that Vix had given her, and this time she did gasp. It was a silver barrette with 2 sparkling stars on it, a signifier. Why are the quotes there? There. Those are real diamonds, by the way. Vix's reflection came up behind Quinn's own, with a satisfied smile on her face. Vixie. Quinn struggled to find the right words as she turned around to look her friend in the eyes. This is beautiful. You really didn't have to do this. I mean, I can't imagine how much it must have cost. Oh, it's rude to ask the price of a gift, isn't it? Either way, it can't have been cheap. You didn't really. Vix put a finger on Quinn's lips to stop her rambling. You're welcome, she said simply. Thank you, Vixie. Quinn was touched, and she expressed her gratitude by giving Vix a big hug, which the ginger gladly returned. fucking typos. It's good that I'm reading this now and I can fix it. Save real quick. Once they separated, Vix gave Quinn another smile and said, "Now then, should we get going?" Quinn nodded with some apprehension and followed Vix up the stairs and out the door. Time for another drink. How we feeling so far, chat? Is it good? Am I doing a good job? I'm gonna take the silence as a good thing. So that means that you're entertained. Okay. Back to reading. Chapter 6. The Party. Before they even stepped foot in the house, the noise was deafening. People, music, and God knows what else. Quinn wondered why she let herself get roped into this, but then she looked over at Vix and remembered exactly why. God damn it, Vix was far too charming for her own good, and she knew it too. Sorry. If anyone had a chance to make their way up to 3 stars, it was the one and only Vix Ellensee. Come on, Quinn. As the redhead smiled, her emerald eyes sparkled with excitement, as they always did. Every time she went to a party, she had the same excitement. She saw an opportunity every time. It was almost impressive, that is, if it weren't so tiring. Vix, I'm not so sure about this. Quinn voiced her doubts to the ground as she fiddled with her new skirt. She could feel the anxiety welling up within her with every step they took towards the house, and she suddenly wasn't so sure she would be able to follow through with this. I don't really belong here. I'm not like you, you know? I'm fine with being a 2, really. I don't fit in with the 3s like you do, and she was abruptly cut off as Vix grabbed her hands, looked her in the eyes, and smiled. Hey, she said, it'll be all right, I promise. Just stick with me, okay? I won't leave you alone. Remember, if you don't like it, you never have to go to another party again. Vix looked into Quinn's eyes, obviously expecting an answer. Quinn nodded gently. Okay. Okay. As soon as they were inside, a group of 3-star boys surrounded them. Trigger warning, harassment. If that is triggering to you, I suggest stepping out for a minute or muting me and coming back later. I will not be offended. As soon as they were inside, a group of 3-star boys surrounded them. They seemed to be friends of Vix because they were very friendly with her and called her by name. Feeling too awkward to join, Quinn stood quietly off to the side. See, I even get uncomfortable reading this, but like, it is important to the story. Okay. Suddenly, a voice behind her said, "Hey." Quinn jumped, and she looked up to see a 3-star boy laughing. "Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you," he said. "I've never seen you around here before. What's your name?" "Quinn." "Cute name for a cute girl. I'm Zach." He winked at Quinn, and she suddenly felt wildly uncomfortable. "Thanks. Nice to meet you." She averted her eyes, and as she turned her head, he said, "Oh, you're a 2? You must be Vix's friend." Quinn self-consciously touched the barrette in her hair, a gift from Vix and a sign of her social status. Yeah, she responded awkwardly. Zach leaned in closer to her and said, "You know, I'm a big supporter of 2-star rights. Personally, I love 2s. Just my type, you know? Something about how shy they are." All at once, Quinn knew she shouldn't have come. Vix was surrounded by her friends, and now Quinn was being called out for being a 2 and being hit on by a 3 who probably had the worst of intentions. There was nothing she could do. The society that she had been raised in had taught her never to refuse a 3. Doing so could get you arrested, even killed. She slowly and subtly took a step back, but Zach took 2 steps forward. This kept going on until Quinn was backed into a corner, and Zach was leaning over her with one hand on the wall behind her. Sorry, I noticed a typo. I gotta fix it. Okay. See? This is exactly what I mean. You're exactly my type. A shy little 2. So innocent. He laughed. You need a 3 to show you how the world works, Quinn. She cringed when he said her name, and she knew that no matter what, she had to get out of this situation. She used the best excuse she had. I'm really sorry, Zach, but I'm a lesbian. Even though it was the truth, she couldn't manage to say it with very much confidence, and she hoped to God that it still worked. Quinn watched as Zach's facial expressions changed, from shock to confusion to a sinister smirk. "Aw, it's okay, Quinn, baby. I understand there aren't any good 2-star boys. So you started crushing on your little friend, Vix." But let me tell you, he leaned in closer and whispered in her ear, once I have you, you won't be able to say no. Quinn wanted to cry. The harassment, the blatant homophobia, the classism, it was all too much. She was so angry, but she couldn't say a word, and now we had her backed into a corner, and Quinn? An angel sent down from the heavens, Vix. As soon as Zack heard her and knew that she was looking, he backed away from Quinn and tried his best to look innocent. There you are. You just disappeared. What happened? Quinn opened her mouth to respond, but was cut off by Zack saying, That was my fault, Vixie. I just wanted to get to know your friend. He smiled, and it seemed so charming that Quinn wondered how it was possible that this same man was just trying to seduce her a second ago. Vix smiled at Zack, but her eyes were cold. How sweet of you, but we should really be going. Quinn doesn't get out much, and I want her to meet as many people as possible. She can't do that if she's spending the whole night with you, now can she? I'm sure you understand. She kept smiling. Again, she kept smiling, but her tone was laced with venom. Zack smiled, faltered for half a second before he said, Of course, Vixie. You two have fun then. Vix grabbed Quinn's hand and practically dragged her away from Zack. Not that Quinn was complaining. She was extremely grateful, and she voiced her gratitude as she said, Thanks so much, Vix. I was really scared back there. But when she looked at Vix, she didn't see her normal, excited expression. She was angrier than Quinn had ever seen her. Vix turned to her and said, Obviously I'm going to protect you. Don't even mention it. And you just stay with me for the rest of the night. I mean it, Quinn. And don't accept any food or drink they offer. If you get really hungry, you can have my food. Zack is a jerk and he'll do anything to get his way. You pissed him off just now, so I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to drug you. Keep your guard up. She turned as if she was going to continue walking, but then she turned back around and flashed Quinn a confident smile, saying, Oh, and welcome to the Threes. Quinn was grateful for the colorful lights because she was sure her face was red. The confidence and swagger with which Vix carried herself had a habit of making one want to place their complete trust in her. And Quinn did just this. She managed to smile and silently nodded in response. The longer the party went on, the more she realized just how utterly out of place she was. With every conversation, Quinn would think to herself, Why don't I just go home? But she had promised to stay with Vix, and she was going to keep that promise for as long as she could. Though apparently that wasn't very long, because after a few hours it just became too much. All the Threes ever talked about was how much better their lives were, and how much better they were. Quinn was sick of it, and she voiced this to Vix, asking if she could find a quiet room in the house in which to collect herself. Are you sure? Vix asked. We can go home if you're really not feeling up to it. It's fine, Quinn responded. I know how important this is to you, so I won't make you leave. I'll be all right. She gave Vix a reassuring smile, and she reluctantly complied and gave Quinn directions to one of the empty bedrooms. Quinn sat down on the bed, put her head in her hands, and immediately started to cry. She didn't know why she was crying, just that she felt like she had to. After spending the night with threes, seeing how they lived, she finally understood how the hopeless felt. Everything about this life was wildly unfair, and there was nothing she could do about it. She cried for a few minutes, then she dried her eyes and got up to rejoin Vix. When she got to the door, however, voices on the other side of it made her pause. They were talking about her? Chapter 7, the beginning of the end. This is the last chapter in part 1, and it is my personal favorite. I don't know how much you guys will like it, but I put a lot of thought into it. As soon as Quinn left, a few of Vix's friends asked her to join them outside, and she tore her eyes away from the other girl and agreed to go with them. She spent an hour or so talking and laughing with them in front of the house. She was enjoying herself so much that she almost forgot about her worry for Quinn. Almost. Her joy was cut short, however, when she heard a crowd and saw a flood of threes rushing outside. The house was on fire. Vix immediately started looking for Quinn. As she was searching, a notification came up on her phone, a message from the very girl she was looking for. Relief washed over her for a split second before she realized that it was a voice message. She tentatively pressed the play button with shaking hands. Hey, Vix. Something was off about her voice. Was she crying? This is the first message I'm recording, because if I don't get a chance to record any more, well, a small, sad laugh, at least I won't have any regrets. What was she talking about? Vix felt panic well up inside of her, but she kept listening. Vix, the threes are planning to kill me. I heard them talking about it. I don't know how much longer I have before they set the place on fire, or if I'll be able to make it out before then, so just in case, I'm recording this for you. I don't want to die with regrets. I'm sorry I was too scared to tell you. I'm sorry we didn't get to be happy together, Vix. The truth is, I love you. I've loved you for so long and I never told you, but she was sobbing now, and so was Vix, who was listening and pushing through the crowd, just desperate to save Quinn. I don't want to die, Vix. I lied before. There's no possible way I'll make it out of this. They locked me in and I... More sobs. But at least you'll know that I love you. You'll make it to 3 stars, Vix. I know you will. You'll change the world, and you'll do it knowing that I loved you. A few seconds of silence while she composed herself, then, goodbye, Vix. By now, Vix was at the front of the crowd, and she tried to approach the house, but something was holding her back. A group of 3s had grabbed her arms and were keeping her from reaching her goal. She fought as hard as she could, screaming as tears streaked down her face and blurred her vision. Quinn was in there, and she tried to voice this, but all she could do was scream the name of the girl she loved. Just as she finally broke free, an explosion. She fell silent, lost in shock, until she quietly said, "No." And again, "No." And again, louder and louder, until she was collapsed onto her knees, clutching her head and screaming at the top of her lungs. This isn't happening, she thought. This can't be happening. But it could. And it was. Quinn was dead. Vix left her side even though she promised she wouldn't. And Quinn Green died without knowing how much Vix loved her. And that's the end of part 1.